My Parkinson's story, I knew I had a tremor when I retired and came back to Iowa. I had worked for 18 years in Alaska after going to college when I was almost 40. Got my undergrad and went to Ames and got my master's degree, and then went to Alaska to work for 18 years. But when I retired, I knew, and I had like a tremor in my arm just once in a while. So I talked to my doctor about it, and she said, well, unless it gets worse, it'll probably be okay. So we did that several years, maybe 3, and I knew that I needed to check it out. So she sent me to a neurologist, had an MRI to see if I didn't have a brain tumor, which I didn't. And but he said he wasn't able to diagnose if I had an essential tremor or, a Parkinson's tremor. So he would have me come in every once in a while. But I waited for about 5 years before I returned back to a doctor, and I looked for a movement specialist at the University of Iowa in Iowa City. And when I got there, of course, she was able to diagnose that, yes, I did have Parkinson's. I had planned to take myself out of the cold climate of Iowa, which is good because this year we had the polar vortex come down. It's still there, and seems like it's going to be there even next week. I had made plans to come to WorldMark over in Scottsdale and spend 2 months to get out of the cold weather, because I have arthritis too. So that was on the agenda. My physical therapist in Iowa, I asked her to give me a recommendation to continue my physical therapy in Arizona. She was so excited the next day. She said, Marjorie, you're never going to believe this. I found the perfect place for you. She said, this doctor not only does this, 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 and this, but she is a Parkinson's specialist. Sarah was the reason I came to Physical Therapy Impact. What's really unique about Sarah is her conversation and listening skills. She has excellent communication skills. She was able to listen to me well enough to know exactly where the greatest pain was that I talked to her about, which was my lower back, where I have an L5-L4 fusion, and one of those little boogers has a crack in it. Once she did dry needling on that first time she did it, I told her, I said, this is really strange, but I can feel where the needles went in, but I don't have any pain on the bone. And it hasn't hurt since that day. And every time I come in, it's like she's building me from the ground up into a new person, that I can function on a level that just going outside or going into a crowd, I felt so uncomfortable that I wasn't stable enough. I couldn't, even with a cane, I wanted somebody there beside me to secure me so I didn't fall over somebody or fall over something. And of course, falling is one of the things that you always think about in Parkinson's. So I've broke through several fears, learning to do things on my own and getting out of the house. And I mean, she's just given me little tidbits of what I call gold nuggets that can make your life so much simpler if you just knew about it. And again, it's part of the conversation of being here for a physical therapy movement session, and you wouldn't think maybe that would make a difference, but it has made a huge difference in how I function during the week, And coming 4 times in a row is very helpful for me, even though there's sometimes I go, I don't know if I can go today. I hurt so bad. And then I remind myself, why am I in Arizona? Flew down here, going to spend 2 months here. I'm doing this. Sarah's right there. I'm doing this. I've got my appointment. I'm going. I think the other thing that, because Sarah is so positive and so open and, of course, friendly with that, but she's also extremely, well, what I told my husband, I found a needle in a haystack. I see she cares about not only my physical being, my emotional being, and still can walk that fine line of being a professional, which she is as a doctor, but allowing herself to let me know how much she can be a friend. That's a big difference.